video, I would like to explain about the data structure and the C++ programming language. I already show you some links about the data structure itself, like the variables and the operation in the programming language, which you can also check on my YouTube channels. It is in the playlist, namely Algoritma dan Struktur Data, so you can check that playlist. So here we go with our course outcome for this chapter. I would like to explain about the data structure as well as the content, that is input-output statement, identifier, basic data type, operator, and maybe break and branching. What is data structure? So you can check my other video about the data structures, which the link is already in my YouTube channel. You can check the data structure videos. But this is more like a clever way to organize the information in order to enable efficient computation. Which means we try to organize the data or the information in form of something that can easily read, easily compute by the computer. It is clever because it's more efficient and more effective to store that data. You can check other videos about the data structure. So this is the data structure. There are a lot of data structures such as list, stack, queue, heap, binary tree, hash, graph, disjoint, and etc. And we can also some algorithm to our data structure, such as inserting data, deleting data, find the data, merge, and find the shortest path of our data. For example, like for graph, we can do something like trying to solve the shortest path of the train, for example, and etc. Now we go to C++ data, C++ language structure. Okay, so here we go. This one is called the header. This is the head of the C++ file. So it is optional. It is optional because maybe you don't need any of header at all. So it is optional. But sometimes it's required when you need a library. A library is a function. What is that? Yes, just a function. A help tools. I can say it. It's like a help tools, like additional features. Yes, like additional features that you can import into your program. So you can import the library by using include hashtag crash sharp include and then studio stdio.h. What does that mean? STD is means standard, and IO means input output. So this program will use the standard input output. So it can use the printf function. And then the next section, this is the main function. The main function is a function that will be execute at the first time the code run. So a code will only be executed if the computer find this phrase or find this command. Like if the program doesn't have any main clause, any main function here, then it will never be executed. So main is a function that will be called at the first time when the code is running. So without it, then your code will not be executed, never be executed. So make sure when you are creating a program, just put it in the main. So this main and then the bracket. So the code is in the bracket. This is your code. This is the code that will be compiled by the computer. So if you are not including the main, then say goodbye to your code. Next, what is identifier? Identifier is something that used to identify or to name labels, type, variable, constant, or also function in a C++ program. It is a case-sensitive language. The C++ is a case-sensitive language, which means W with uppercase is different object as W with the lowercase. V is different. The W with uppercase and W with lowercase is a different object. So it is it is the explanation of the case sensitive. That means the case, the case. It's sensitive to the case. Okay, come back to the identifier. Identifier mean name. That means you have to give a name to your variable, give a name to your labels, and etc. But beware with the case sensitive. What does that mean? For example, in the start of the program, you create a variable, namely name, with lowercase. But in the end of the program, you try to call that name by using and with uppercase. This won't work. So it will result into error in your program because it's different. Okay, so beware of the case sensitive and give name to your variable, constant, and etc. Identifier is the name for the labels, type, variables, constant, and etc. Also, the identifier must be descriptive. So please avoid something that will result into meaningless, that will just meaningless or just like result into ambiguous something like bus maybe. Bus is something that ambiguous because bus can be bus as a transportation or just bus, serial bus. So beware with the naming, with the identifier, and try to name it as descriptive as it can. And also beware with the case sensitive. Okay, so here we go with the identifier constraint or the rule when you are using identifier. The first one, it must be unique. It must be unique. So you can't create identifier that have the same name. For example, like name, and then you create another name. For example, you create integer name, but and last you create also a string name. So it will make the program confused. Which is the name that you call? The name this one or the name with this one? So don't make the program confused. Be unique. And then the identifier can't be reserved word. What is reserved word? Reserved word is the word that already in your C++ program. For example, double, main, integer. It is something that already booked by the computer. So you can't use these words. However, you can also start the naming of the identifier, the naming or the identifier with a letter or underscore, so it have to be start with a letter, not a number. So don't do this one. Start it with a letter or underscore. Underscore is na, for example, it's okay. And be followed by 0 or more letters, or a digit, or an underscore. Like this one, is na underscore 09, it's okay. So the valid example is like this one, age of dog. So underscore, it's okay. Or underscore text rate or Y2K. So in the example, the identifier consists of several words. So text rate, this is 2 words. So in the second word, we create the hour case. We make it uppercase. We make it uppercase to differentiate it from the first word and the second word, so we can read it easily. For example, like this one, print and then heading. This is also possible. Print with the uppercase and then heading in the lowercase. Like this one, age of horse, where O and H here is uppercase, so we can it is noticeably that there is a difference between one word, the first word and the second word and the third word. However, there are also several examples of how to use this combination. This one, for example, is mostly used to name a function or a class. We'll talk about it later, but the more common combination of identifier for valid variable, constanta, and etc. is this one. So like, for example, you want to create a variable name, for example, you want to create a variable students name. This is okay. So it's for the variable. But this like print heading is more for class or function. So for example, like calculate GPA. It's like something to do. But of course, you can still use this combination, but it's just uncommon. I mean, like, you can choose this one for the variable naming or labels or constanta, but it's just, yes, uncommon. Okay, so let's talk about the non-valid or not valid identifier. It's like this one because it is using crash, and then this one because it starts with number, and this one, why it is invalid? Because it is not using underscore, but instead it uses minus. Yeah, it is prohibited. Why? Because it can be read like, for example, like age minus of, so it's like two different variable, maybe variable minus variable, like a minus b equal to c. So okay, it's invalid. It is prohibited. Main, because it is already reserved by the system.